It's 0217 in the freezing darkness of the Sea of Japan. The wind is a knife. Salt spray freezes the moment it touches steel. A black silhouette barely breaks the surface. USS Barb, SS-220, running silent on batteries, her deck awash in 4-foot swells. On the bridge, Captain Eugene Bennett Fluckey peers through frozen binoculars at a coastline no American submarine has ever dared touch. Behind him, 8 men in blackened fatigues huddle around 2 rubber boats, faces smeared with grease, hearts hammering so loud they swear the Japanese shore sentries can hear them. Fluckey lowers the glasses and whispers the words no submariner ever expected to say inside Japan's inner defensive ring. Launch the raiding party. These 8 volunteers are about to paddle 2 miles through minefields, land on the enemy's home soil, and blow up a train, while their submarine waits offshore like a ghost. If they're caught, Japan has promised slow death for any saboteur found on the sacred homeland. If they succeed, the Imperial Navy will never sleep the same again. The first rubber boat slips over the side. Paddles bite black water. 8 shadows disappear into the night, heading for a railroad that has never once, in 4 years of war, felt the touch of an enemy hand. You can almost taste the fear. The rubber boats scrape bottom at 0341 on a narrow, rock-strewn beach south of Kaihyo-to, Karafuto Prefecture, Empire of Japan. 8 pairs of boots hit Japanese soil for the first time since 1941. No invasion fleet, no air cover, no radio contact. Just 8 men and a duffel bag full of hell. Leading them is Lieutenant William R. Gardner, 26 years old, soft-spoken Virginian who looks more like a college quarterback than a commando. Behind him, Chief Gunner's mate Paul G. Saunders, the explosives wizard who once sank a Japanese destroyer with a deck gun in daylight broadlight. Then come machinist's mate John J. Foley, torpedo men's mate Lawrence E. Newland, and 4 more hand-picked madmen who begged Fluckey for the privilege of this suicide stroll. They drag the boats above the tide line and bury them under snow and driftwood. No one speaks above a whisper. Every crunch of frozen gravel sounds like a gunshot. Gardner checks the luminous dial of his watch, then the hand-drawn map sketched from periscope photos taken weeks earlier. 200 yards inland, the single-track coastal railway that hugs the cliffs, carrying coal, troops, and pride straight to the Emperor's war machine. Tonight, that railway dies. They move like wolves, blacked out, low, fast. The temperature is 10 below zero. Breath freezes on eyelashes. Fingers go numb inside trigger gloves. Somewhere in the darkness, a dog barks once, then thinks better of it. Then they see it. Twin steel rails gleaming faintly under starlight, running north to south like an artery straight through Japan's heart. Saunders drops to his knees, presses 20 pounds of Composition C plastic explosive against the outside rail, inserts a pressure switch designed in Barb's torpedo shop. 1 train, 1 trigger, 1 message to Tokyo. We can reach you anywhere. The charge is set in 90 seconds. They melt back into the tree line, hearts counting down faster than any fuse. Now all that's left is the 2-mile paddle back to a submarine that might already be dead. 0412. The saboteurs are belly down in frozen pine needles, 80 yards from the tracks, eyes fixed on the empty rails. The wind has died. The night is so quiet they can hear their own pulses. Then, far to the south, a low rumble. Headlight. A 16-car coal train, locomotive puffing black smoke into the stars, crawling along the coast at 25 miles an hour, confident, routine, untouchable. Inside the cab, the Japanese engineer sips hot tea from a tin cup. He has made this run every night for 2 years. American submarines hundreds of miles away. American soldiers still bleeding on distant islands no one here can pronounce. He never notices the tiny pressure switch taped beneath the rail. The locomotive hits it at 04:17 exactly. A flash, white, searing, turns the night into noon. Then the roar. 20 pounds of C2 explosive lifts the front of the engine clean off the tracks, flips it sideways like a toy, and hurls 6 coal cars into the sea in an avalanche of steel and fire. Steam explodes skyward, wheels still spinning in mid-air. Screams from the guards riding the roofs cut short as the cliff swallows them whole. For 3 full seconds, the saboteurs just stare, stunned that something so small could tear such a large hole in the empire. Then Billy Gardner's voice, calm as Sunday dinner. "Show's over, gentlemen. Time to go home." They sprint for the buried boats while secondary explosions ripple behind them. Ammunition in one of the cars cooking off like the 4th of July. The sky glows orange for miles. Somewhere up the coast, Japanese patrol boats are already screaming to life, searchlights stabbing the water. The 8 men shove the rubber boats into the surf, leap aboard, and paddle for their lives into a night now lit up like a stage. Behind them, Japan's impregnable coastline is burning. And somewhere out in the black water, a single American submarine is running for deep water, praying her children make it back before the Empire wakes up angry. 04:25. The rubber boats are clawing through 6-foot swells, every paddle stroke a fight against ice-cold water that wants to swallow them. Behind them, the train wreck is a bonfire on the cliff. Flares arc into the sky. Machine gun tracers stitch red lines across the water as shore patrols fire at shadows. Paul Sanders is in the lead boat, teeth chattering so hard he can barely speak. Keep, stroke. With Gardner, lose him and we're done. They can't use the outboard motors. The noise would bring every destroyer in Karafuto down on them. So it's muscle and terror for 2 nautical miles, straight into a head sea, while searchlights sweep closer and closer. A Japanese patrol craft roars past less than 400 yards away, spotlight carving the waves like a scalpel. The 8 men freeze mid-stroke, faces down, praying the black rubber blends with the night. The light passes inches from Gardner's boat and moves on. Then, miracle. A faint green flash on the horizon. 1 blink. Pause. 2 blinks. It's Barb. Flucky has risked everything, surfacing just long enough to show them the way home. The paddles dig harder, lungs burn, frost-bitten fingers bleed inside the gloves. They no longer feel the cold, only the drumbeat in their chests that says, 1 more stroke, 1 more, almost there. At 04:58, the first boat bumps up against something solid in the dark. Hands reach down. Strong submariner arms haul them over the ballast tank like they weigh nothing. One by one, the 8 saboteurs tumble onto the deck of USS Barb, half frozen, half delirious, wholly alive. Flucky's voice cuts through the chaos, calm as ever. "Welcome home, boys. Crash dive." Ballast valves slam open. Barb drops beneath the surface seconds before the first depth charge from an enraged Japanese destroyer detonates exactly where she'd been. Down in the control room, 8 exhausted commandos lie on the steel deck plates, soaked, shaking, grinning like devils. They just pulled off the only ground combat attack on the Japanese home islands in the entire war.
and the Imperial Japanese Navy still has no idea how it happened. 0630, January 23, 1945. USS Barb is running deep, 180 feet beneath a sea now crawling with angry destroyers. Depth charges bloom overhead like thunder in slow motion. The hull groans, light bulbs shatter. Men grip pipes and pray silently. In the wardroom, the 8 saboteurs are wrapped in blankets, gulping hot coffee laced with medicinal brandy. No one has said much yet. They don't need to. Their eyes say everything. They just walked into Japan, blew up a train, and walked out again. Captain Flucky steps through the hatch, still in his soaked bridge coat. He looks at the exhausted raiders, then at his exec, Commander Waterman, and gives the smallest of nods. A sailor appears with a stencil and red paint. Up on the conning tower, safe beneath the surface for now, the crew's artist carefully adds a brand new symbol to Barb's famous battle flag, a tiny exploding train right alongside the 14 sunken ships, the rising suns, and the miniature aircraft already painted there. Flucky's voice comes over the 1MC, steady and proud. "Attention all hands. This is the captain." At approximately 0417 this morning, 8 members of this crew landed on the soil of the Japanese Empire and destroyed an enemy train. No casualties, no prisoners taken. The United States Navy has now fought and won on every inch of the Emperor's territory. That is all. A roar erupts through every compartment. Men who have been hunted like animals for hours suddenly remember they are wolves. Later that morning, when Barb finally slips free of the patrol net and surfaces far out at sea, the rising sun catches something new on the sail. A hand-painted banner flying beneath the stars and stripes. White cloth with bold red letters. Train Busters Incorporated, East Coast Branch, Japan. The Imperial Japanese Navy will spend weeks trying to figure out how a single submarine killed one of their trains without ever firing a torpedo. Intelligence officers in Tokyo will tear their hair out. Admirals will stare at maps and whisper the impossible. Americans walked here. And somewhere beneath the Pacific, a quiet fleet boat with a grinning bald eagle on her bow steams south for new hunting grounds, already planning the next time she will make the Empire bleed on its own doorstep. Because for USS Barb and her devil-may-care skipper, the war just got personal.
February 1945, Pearl Harbor. USS Barb ghosts into port at dawn. Her crew still half convinced the whole thing was a fever dream. Intelligence officers swarm the boat before the lines are even tied off. They want details, photographs, proof. Flucky hands them a single roll of 35mm film shot by Billy Gardner with a smuggled Leica. Wrecked locomotive upside down on the rocks. Coal cars scattered like toys. Japanese soldiers staring at the camera in stunned disbelief. The spook's jaws drop. One rear admiral actually whispers, "You people are insane." The Navy classifies everything top secret, not because they're ashamed, because they're terrified Tokyo will change every coastal routine, move every train inland, and waste months of Japanese manpower on wild goose chases along thousands of miles of empty track. Psychological warfare at its finest. But sailors talk. Whispers leak from Pearl to San Francisco to the Pentagon bars. By March, every submariner in the Pacific knows about the train on the scoreboard. Crewmen visiting Barb in Midway are brought below and shown the sacred relic, the actual pressure switch that blew the train, now mounted in a glass case in the crew's mess like a holy grail. In Tokyo, the Imperial General Headquarters is unraveling. Rail schedules are rewritten overnight. Troops ride on car roofs with fixed bayonets. Entire garrisons are pulled from the front to guard bridges no one ever threatened before. Admiral Toyota demands answers. How did Americans land undetected? The only honest reply from coastal commanders, "We still don't know." And in the White House, a memo crosses President Roosevelt's desk in April 1945. He reads it, chuckles once, and scrawls in the margin, "Give that man whatever he wants, FDR." 2 weeks later, Gene Fluckey receives a radiogram direct from ComSubPac. He is awarded the Medal of Honor, only the second submariner in the war to get it while still alive. The 8 raiders each receive the Silver Star. The citation is still classified until 1947, because even in victory, the Navy refuses to give Japan the satisfaction of knowing exactly how badly they were humiliated. But the real medal, the one that matters to every man who sailed on Barb, is already painted in red on the conning tower. A tiny exploding train that says, clearer than any ribbon or star, "We came, we saw, we blew up your goddamn railroad." And we lived to tell the tale. 14th August 1945. The Emperor is about to broadcast surrender tomorrow, and every boat in the Pacific has been ordered to cease fire. Except one. USS Barb is prowling the coast of Hokkaido again, batteries low, torpedoes almost gone, crew running on coffee and pure spite. Fluckey gathers them in the control room at dusk. "Gentlemen," he says, holding up a final target folder, "the war ends at noon tomorrow. That gives us about 14 hours to remind Japan one last time who's been visiting their backyard all year." At 22:47 that night, Barb surfaces in a howling gale off the fishing village of Rumoi. No rubber boats this time. Instead, Fluckey does something no submariner had ever done before or has done since. He orders the 5-inch deck gun crew topside in the storm and the 40mm and 20mm gunners too. Then he turns the boat broadside to a coastal freighter anchorage and opens fire like a pirate ship from another century. For 12 glorious minutes, Barb's guns roar. Shells walking across docks, exploding warehouses, sinking 3 trawlers and a coastal tanker before Japanese shore batteries even realize what century they're in. When the last magazine is empty, Fluckey brings her around, flashes her recognition lights toward the burning shore in a cheeky farewell salute, and dives clean. The final entry in Barb's war diary, written in Fluckey's own hand. 14th August 1945. Fired last shots of the war. Believe we are the only ship entitled to fly the Jolly Roger at surrender ceremonies. Returning to base with no torpedoes, no shells, no regrets. 6 days later in Tokyo Bay, when the Japanese delegation boards USS Missouri beneath the shadow of massed battleships, one small battered fleet submarine slides quietly into the anchorage. Her battle flag snaps in the breeze. 16 rising sun flags, 14 ships sunk, 1 airplane shot down, and still that tiny red train that makes hardened admirals do double takes. Japanese officers stare. American sailors grin. And somewhere on Barb's bridge, Captain Eugene Fluckey, Medal of Honor around his neck, allows himself one last quiet smile. They never believed a single submarine could touch the sacred soil of Japan. They never imagined 8 ordinary sailors could walk off with a piece of it burning behind them. And they sure as hell never thought one bald eagle from Texas would keep coming back until the Empire itself begged for the end. USS Barb steams home with a clean deck, an empty magazine, and the most audacious war record in submarine history. The train on the scoreboard was only the beginning. The legend? That one never comes home.